Welcome to BET's Black Coffee. I'm Mark Lamont Hill, and my amazing co-hosts are Gia Peppers and Jameer Pond.
Thank you.
I said it with dignity,
that was
right?
Very good.
We have a special guest, so I'm being on my best behavior.
You should.
We have a special guest in the building. She represents the 5th Congressional District of Minnesota. She's also a mother of 3, a wife, and much, much more. And since joining Congress in 2018, she remains hyper-focused on ensuring the American dream works for everyone. Please welcome Representative Ilhan Omar to the show. Thank you.
Thank you for coming here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes.
I love, wait, can I see your nails? You wear black nails all the time?
I do.
Why
Those are
black?
nice.
So it's a very African women thing. It's like a henna. We wear black on the nails, orange in the middle,
Okay.
sort of thing.
I like that.
And so it's an homage to like the women in my family who I carry with me to Congress every day.
Come on.
It goes so
Just
well
live
with your
for you.
outfit. You look
It does. It always
Yeah,
does. It's
yeah.
black. You know,
Yeah.
black is black excellence.
I'm just like,
There
I
you
just
go.
like red.
Black
It
is
looks nice on my
vibrant,
skin.
they say.
Yeah.
My skin color.
Black
Yeah,
is
like
vibrant.
Black is vibrant.
Yes,
It's
that's
vibrant.
beautiful. Well, thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate, I definitely appreciate following you because you are still, like, no matter how crazy America looks right now, you are still so big on being moral and truthful and genuine. So I just appreciate you for coming here and sharing space with us today.
Our truth is all we got. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all we
And-
got.
and
We also have comments, by the way. You have
Comments.
comments for the show. Make sure you send them in so we can know. Also, subscribe to our
Truth and
YouTube
comments.
channel. Yes, truth and comments. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss an episode of Black Coffee. It's youtube.com/BET Black Coffee. Again, you can also use the hashtag Black Coffee Live to send us comments and questions, and we'll be shouting you out throughout the show because you are an extra special guest. It's hard to get members of Congress because they're so busy all the time and they're
Right.
traveling around the country between the district and DC.
Yeah.
This must be a crazy time
How do
for
you say no to black coffee though?
That's what I'm
Another
talking about.
soundbite for the sizzle reel.
Yes,
yes,
exactly.
Yes.
But just so you know, this isn't like an ordinary interview. We're going to ask you some questions now.
Okay.
Yeah.
However, we like to do a little bit more because we want people to see all sides of Congresswoman Omar.
Right.
All right.
And speaking of that, we have a game for you.
All
It's
right.
called Pass the Ox. So we have 3 options, right? And we got songs that you can either play, skip, or delete from your playlist forever.
Okay.
But
Do you actually have access to my playlist?
No.
You get nervous?
Don't have that.
There's some Beastie Boys in there.
But I'm like,
Some
okay.
Beach Boys.
It's a
in there.
whole bunch of Prince because we Prince fans.
Okay.
Like that. That was my Prince voice.
Don't ever do that again.
Like that? Okay, all right. So I have them on a card,
All
and
right.
you'll be able to see them on the screen right there. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go.
Born ready.
Here we go. I love that. All right, so we have Beyonce's Ring the Alarm, Amy Winehouse Rehab, or Taylor Swift's Shake It Off. Which one would you play? Which one would you skip? And which one would you delete?
I would play Rehab.
Okay.
I will save Ring the Alarm when we actually need to ring the alarm.
That's a good answer.
And I would certainly delete.
Oh!
Wow.
Nice,
She said
nice, nice.
certainly
Certainly.
delete.
Certainly.
Not a Taylor Swift fan.
I am, but not.
Not
Out of
Beyonce.
these,
level.
Yeah.
I think that's the general consensus. I like that. I like those. Okay, that was good. That was good. All right.
That was just level 1.
That was level 1.
But turn it up a notch.
Oh,
we
goodness,
got more
okay.
John Blaze for you. All right, here we go.
This is tougher than Congress. Starting to sweat.
All right. We have
Ooh,
Migos featuring
okay.
Drake, Walk It Like I Talk It, Jackson 5, ABC, and Brandy, I Want to Be Down. What you playing, what you skipping, what you deleting?
I love Brandy.
Yes.
But I'm sort of like in a walk it like I talk it.
Hey!
Like that.
Let's go.
I would skip Brandy's Wanna Be Down, delete ABC.
I said the same thing.
I can't.
No. She's right.
All right.
He's right.
That's
No?
that's like childhood. Like I know
Yeah.
that's problematic to say because Michael Jackson is.
It's like a Sunday.
But like
cleaning
yeah,
the
ABC
house.
was such a cute song.
Yeah.
But Brandy, I Want to Be Down is,
Yeah.
come on now.
Yeah, you can't delete
You can't delete
But
that.
Walking
All
Like
right.
I Talk is the winner.
It's obvious.
That kind of day.
Okay,
Yes,
Migos.
okay.
Understood.
That kind of
All right, so our third and final selection. Here we go. We have Queen, We Are the Champions, Britney Spears, Baby One More Time, and B2K Girlfriend.
Ooh.
Which one you going with? Now you are a champion.
So,
I'm just throwing that out there.
I'm of the Britney Spears generation.
Okay.
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 know?
Okay.
So I would play that.
Okay.
I would delete Girlfriend.
Woo! What?
Thank you.
I would skip.
hard. We are the
We Are the Champions.
Girlfriend was such a.
It was a banger.
That
It
was a banger
classic.
right
Yeah,
was a
but
banger.
was is the
Exactly.
Oh,
Too
it didn't-
trendy.
It didn't age well.
It didn't age well.
I don't
exactly.
hear. I don't play Baby One More Time though.
I don't play that either. Yeah. Well, look.
Though it was iconic, but
no.
I didn't. I know something.
Well, look. Either way, you have.
You did well.
You won something.
Right.
All right. I don't know what the ratio
mug.
is. Yeah, but you won. You won a mug full of black coffee. There you go. There you go.
I'll take a sip for that.
There you go.
Yes. It
Congratulations.
was very surprising your choices. I didn't know you was gonna go with Britney.
Walking like a talker is what surprised me.
That's
That's
surprising
the
too.
one that I said.
So you're
I
a
could
hip hop,
pick out.
like you like Migos.
I like every kind of music. So just the right song at the right time.
I'm here for
I
it.
listen to country. I listen to rock. I
Do it all.
do it all.
do it
all. It's equality.
Yeah.
I mean, managing to get to Congress must have been a heck of a journey. I know it was a heck of a journey for you. What was it? When did you first decide that that's what you wanted to set your sights on?
I didn't. The opportunity came because Congressman Keith Ellison, who was my predecessor, decided to run for Attorney General. He literally gave us, less than 48 hours to make a decision. And so you had to file and then give yourself a couple of hours to see if you could continue on or not. And so I signed up without even telling my own family. Because I knew that the kind of leader that he was on progressive issues, that we needed someone who was going to carry that and even do more. And none of the people who were thinking about running for the seat were people I could trust to do that for our community.
What were some of the issues that you thought needed to continue to be pushed?
Yeah, I mean, so issues around environment, making sure that the people recognize that healthcare was a human right, fighting to end homelessness. My generation deals with college debt. I represent one of the youngest districts in Congress, and so that was a priority, and that wasn't really going to be a priority for a lot of the people who were running. And so it just made sense for us to make sure that we could get somebody that would fight for us on the things that matter to our district, to the country, and to the state.
Yes. One of the big things that's come out in the last couple of weeks is the question of school debt. Obviously, Bernie Sanders and you, very instrumental in pushing the conversation forward. Help us understand exactly what your vision is for what America would look like with the proper policies in place with regard to student debt.
So Bernie and I introduced a bill that he's been talking about for a really long time. I've been trying to get it introduced since I gotten sworn in. It's a complete cancellation of the $1.6 trillion debt that 45 million Americans carry. It would allow for us to give complete relief to a whole generation that is shackled by student debt. It would allow us to create a stimulus within our economy by giving young people the opportunity to buy a home, to start that family, to allow them to just do normal basic life things and have a pathway to that prosperity that we know we all deserve.
And this would also be for private loans as well?
Yeah, so it's all public and private loans, and we are going to do it without costing a single dollar to the taxpayers.
Wow.
Is going to be a tax on Wall Street. We believe that 10 years ago we bailed out Wall Street, and now it's time for Wall Street to bail out the American people. And what we are asking them to do is spend 1/10 of what we spent in bailing them out. And so we are really excited. This is a great opportunity for us to set a new path for so many Americans.
Wow, that's really exciting.
No, I was just going to follow up with what would be the timeline of that? So let's say
complete cancellation within 6 months of the
6 months.
legislation being enacted.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, your opponents are saying that's fiscally irresponsible and unworkable, particularly in the private sector.
Yeah, it certainly isn't, because fiscally it doesn't do anything to our individual economy, right? This is a tax on Wall Street speculators, so it's not a tax on individuals. It's not a tax on, the American people.
So, if this doesn't harm the private sector because it creates a stimulus in the economy, more spending should help Wall Street.
Right.
So why would Wall Street be against this?
Because Wall Street loves getting bailed out and doesn't like to bail out others, right? People who have resources often aren't thinking about those without. And what we are trying to say is that we are in it all together. And when you needed us, we came through for you, and now we need you, and you need to come through for us.
Wow, Wall Street's like that bad friend. Wall Street never want to give you money,
Right.
but well, hey, you need it.
Yeah.
I might need that $5. Let me get that $5.
That $5.
They're willing to always have you pick up the tab.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
You're
right.
like, come on,
Daddy,
now.
come on.
Yeah.
It's like going to lunch with
Right.
Jameer.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Why you putting out personal business?
That's
Just saying.
Why you doing that? Why you doing that?
It was Taco Bell. You could have picked up.
Look, hey.
It's fine. It's fine.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Well, and it's so interesting because I think the bills that you are proposing are really awesome, and including you've been very vocal about how the borders are so inhumane and the things that are happening in immigration.
Right.
We would literally call out other countries,
Yes.
but no one is saying anything about the
Right.
U.S.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about
there's a
that
complete
push.
atrocity that is taking place at our border. This is happening because of the policies that we've implemented as a country through this, cruel administration, and policies that came before. This administration. And so we're talking about policies like the family separation, we're talking about policies like metering, that sort of extends the amount of time that it takes for people to get processed. It also includes policies like the Stay in Mexico. But we also have not really been helpful to the Northern Triangle, right? Like we have not done any sort of things that will help stimulate their economy. We haven't been a really good neighbor.
Yes.
And so what we're saying is that we've helped create this crisis.
Right.
And now we need to figure out how to completely eliminate this crisis.
Right.
If this was happening in any other country, we would call it an atrocity. We would say, we need the international community to get involved. We would lay out, right, the standards of how people who are seeking asylum should be treated by any host country. And we're not doing any of those things. I mean, we're having conversations about whether kids should get an opportunity to sleep on a mat or on the floor.
Yeah.
Where the conversation should really be no kids should be put
do
in that situation at all.
Yeah.
And so we're having a debate on things that shouldn't be debated in the United States. And for someone who knows what it feels like to seek asylum, to cross a border. I know that I received a different kind of treatment in a country with much less resources, and with maybe even a different set of values on human rights. And when we think of ourselves as being an example to the world, this isn't the kind of example that we want to be setting.
So what pushes that response? What animates that response? I mean, we could obviously argue that there's policies in place, that there are members of Congress who have a strong disposition in the opposite direction of yours,
Right.
to be sure. But what about the broad American public? I mean, why aren't we more outraged that there are children sleeping on mats or in cages? I mean, I would think that this would be untenable.
Yeah. I mean, we as a country have always been quite comfortable with the other and othering. And it takes a while for us to feel connected to that human life that is struggling. You'll have people have a conversation about how their parents made a horrible choice. And I always remind them, that there is this beautiful poem that a Somali poet did, and one of the lines she says is, "No one leaves for the mouth of the shark unless the mouth of the shark is safer than home." And so no parent is making a choice to further endanger their children's lives unless they know that their kids' lives would be much more in danger if they stayed. And so I think to a lot of the American people, the conversation about what is happening at the border is extreme service level. It's very confusing. You've got people who will say, I no longer want to see pictures of a father and his daughter dying.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to see pictures of what's happening in some of these camps and cages. So give more money. Without even realizing that none of the money that we are going to be sending to these agencies that have been committing human rights violations is going to solve any of that problem. And if we really wanted to make sure that no father and daughter will die trying to get into safety, if we really wanted to make sure that we are not seeing any children in the conditions we're currently seeing them in, then we would need a complete overhaul of the policies that we have right now. And you've got, you know, members of my own party who are co-signing these cruel policies that this administration has implemented.
Why?
Because, you know, there's the political reality, right? It's too confusing to explain what's happening. We need immediate relief. And to me, it's like, no, you need clarity and courage to say, this is wrong.
Right.
I'm not going to continue to give you more money to continue doing wrong things. I'm going to tell you this is not okay. This is not America. We can no longer allow for these kids to be in detention centers like this. We can't allow for kids to be separated from their families. There is no reason for any of this to happen. We can do better, and we should.
Is the Speaker Pelosi is often pragmatic in these ways, right? And not just her, other members of Congress. Like to your point, right? That we have to deal with the immediate. We can't be too idealistic. We can't oppose policies. How do you navigate a Congress where members of your own party sometimes are being so pragmatic and so measured in their response?
But I mean, even if you are pragmatic, the pragmatic answer is to say, I gave you money. You chose to use it in the most cruel ways. I am no longer going to give you money because I don't want to participate in this cruelty. Right? That's not an ideology.
Is that a radical?
Right? Like that's not.
human rights.
I mean, we have rogue agencies that have no accountability, no transparency in how they conduct their business. We know that they have spoken in the most vile ways about immigrants. We know that they have certain views about, you know, what brown and black people deserve. And so we should be having a conversation about eliminating their existence, reforming, you know, the agencies that deal with our most vulnerable, which are children and women, and we are continuing to allow for them to terrorize people who are running away from the, you know, most horrific circumstances, and that's one, inhumane. And that can't sit well with the American values that we have, that sort of really clearly cares about dignity and humanity.
Right, and it's so interesting because, you know, America, I think before Trump, we were on this high of hope, change. We had Barack Obama. It was like, he wasn't perfect, but he was great. And so now the American values that you were just speaking about almost seem like they've gone to the wayside because we have this leader who's more concerned about tweeting than actual people's rights. So how do you feel about impeachment? What does that look like? Like, some people are afraid of it because they don't know what's the other side of impeaching him. Like, if you impeach him, then what? So what do you say about, you know, impeachment and that process?
It is past time for this president to be impeached. You know, we know that he has committed violations upon violations. And it's no longer, a question of whether he should be impeached, is when.
Right.
And so many members of Congress are coming to terms with that. In a couple of weeks, we're going to have Mueller come testify to the findings of his investigation. And I think we're going to give the people an opportunity to have a full understanding, because most of the public has not had an opportunity to read the Mueller report. Most of Congress has.
I was going to say, we all have had the opportunity, some of y'all just don't read it.
Right. And so to have these hearings be broadcasted and be easily digestible to the American people, I believe we're going to be in the process of getting it done.
Yeah.
Because if you think about, back when Nixon was being impeached, most people didn't believe that we should start impeachment, right? It was like something like 65% of Americans when the process began. Within 10 months, it was only 20-some% who didn't think we should impeach him. Now we're in the 50s for Trump, you're right? A little over 50% don't think we should impeach him. And I believe not even 10 months, within 2 months of having these hearings, those numbers are going to shift.
No, I wanted to switch gears just for a quick minute and talk about, we were talking about human rights for Black and brown people.
Right.
And a big platform that a lot of people and a lot of candidates talk about is the legalization and criminalization of marijuana, and which has a lot of Black and brown people incarcerated for petty marijuana carrying and selling.
Yeah.
I just want to talk about, because people want to, including yourself, want to make legalization for marijuana worldwide, nationwide rather, and to get those people exonerated from prison.
Yeah.
I want to know, what does that ultimately look like? Because there are people who are making, I read an article about a young girl who is now a cannabis owner of her own strain and is a businesswoman, but you have these Black and brown people who are in jail for life for selling marijuana in the 80s and 90s. So I want to know your plans for that, because that affects a whole generation of Black and brown people, including people in my family and people who I know as well.
Yeah. I mean, so this is, I think, just point out why it's important for us to do it federally and not allow, right, for the states to pick and choose.
Right.
Because what happens is that you will have a state where, someone is publicly and professionally is able to profit.
Right.
And the next state, someone could be sent to life for it, right? And so we want to make sure that there is equality in our laws. I don't think it's just for that kind of dichotomy to exist within this policy. But also, we're having, I think, the broader conversation after legalization. How do you allow the people who have been most impacted by these harmful policies to now sort of get reparation and be the ones that are set up to benefit from the system now working? And so I think these are parallel conversations.
Definitely.
And you'll have people who will say, we can't talk about, the legalization of this if we don't talk about that. And so for me, it is, we got to talk about it all.
Definitely.
And these are holistic conversations for us to have. And there are some policies I know that Cory Booker and Senator Harris have been pushing for, and I think Barbara Lee in Congress, that will center Black and brown people in getting opportunities to start the businesses that will be generated after we legalize.
Yeah, because it's super unfair,
Right.
right? Because
Yeah.
this marginalized community cannot benefit off of the things that now are becoming legal
Right.
in different states,
Right.
and they're sitting in jail for 30 years
Yeah.
for doing the same
Right.
thing,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's also resource driven, right? You have to have the capital
Right.
to be able to
Play the game.
to start the business, to understand where to even begin.
Right.
But also many licenses for businesses are tied to your criminal record.
Definitely.
And so there are a lot of things we have to make sure we're taking care of so that we are setting the Black and brown community to be in equal footing when that happens.
Absolutely. One way people want to see equal footing is through the broader project of reparations.
Right.
You know, obviously HR 40 was a big part of the public conversation the last
Yeah.
couple of weeks. Where do you stand on reparations?
Yeah, I'm signed on to HR 40.
But that's for the commission.
Yeah.
yeah.
Obviously, you want to look at the data and see the study.
Right.
But at the ideological level, do you support reparations? For
Yeah,
Black
I mean,
folks?
it's past time.
Yeah.
It's past time. And, you know, I'm an African immigrant. And so my situation is very much different in the way that, you know, my family interacts with the system. And I want to make sure that my colleagues who come from enslaved ancestry are deciding how that policy is implemented and what makes sense in that regard. And so I'm in full support in trying to make sure that we are taking full steps into getting reparations for the Black community.
Wow. We have some comments coming in from social media. Laura D on Twitter says, your daughter Isra is very politically active. Will we see her following in her mother's footsteps?
Yes. She might challenge me soon. She is one of the founders of the youth strikes in the United States, youth climate strikes, and she's really passionate about finding solution to our climate crisis. She jokes often that, you know, she's different from her white counterparts because most of them deeply care about our environment because they go camping.
Right.
Right.
She comes from an African family. We do not.
We don't go camping. right.
But what she didn't realize is that, you know, there's a time limit, right, to when we can expect this crisis to get to a level where we might not be able to handle it, which is 12 years. And my youngest daughter, Ilwad, graduates high school in 12 years. And so she's interested in trying to deal with this crisis from that point of view of trying to make sure that her sister has a future into her adulthood like she will. Because she's graduating high school soon, and so she'll get an opportunity that might not be guaranteed to Ilwad.
That's really awesome.
You mentioned Cory Booker and Kamala Harris with regard to a bill. You did something with Bernie Sanders on this stuff. You may not know this. They're all running for president.
If you've been out the loop,
You've been out just saying,
Just a little bit.
Where are you leaning these days? Have you endorsed anyone?
I have not, and I don't intend on making an endorsement anytime soon. I think it's a little too early.
Right.
There is lots of important conversations that need to be had about particular policies. Everybody has ideas that are closely aligned, and so it's within the details often that you get to pick your candidate.
Yeah.
And you know, as a policy nerd, like those kind of things really matter to me. But I think there is also this question of how do we defeat the occupant of the White House? What does that policy? What does that process really look like? How do we not only energize our base, but also get to the soul of our country and reclaim it. And I don't know if we have gotten that candidate yet.
Speaking of because there are now 6 women running,
Yeah.
which is incredible.
How exciting.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
As a woman in politics, obviously in Congress, what does that feel like? And what do you think about, the next woman, the next president being a woman? What would is that something you would like to see happen, like in the next term, next election?
That would be really exciting.
I would love it.
Yeah,
Would be
that would
great.
be really exciting. And there is a different feel to the women that are running.
Right.
And
And there's a lot of variance.
Right, because I think for firsts, right, there's a lot of guardrails that are put on you, and I know that the other women who've had the opportunity to put their name in the hat for president have had a lot of those self-imposed and society-imposed
Things.
guardrails.
Right.
And these women don't have that.
Right.
Which is, I think, the most exciting part, right? Because they're not running for president as a woman.
Right.
They're running for president as a person with qualifications to run for president.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you could see that. You could see, Senator Harris show up and not be the female candidate, but be the candidate.
Right.
Yes.
You could see that in Warren, right? Everybody's got she's like, I got a plan for that.
Right.
Like, you gonna listen.
Yeah.
And you can see even, I would say, like Gillibrand, who is not afraid to say, we prioritize women's issues because women's issues are American issues. They are the kind of issues that are going to uplift the American people and the middle class.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where, often people would tell you, like, don't talk about access to childcare,
Right.
Because there's an association of you being a mother.
Stigmatized.
Right. Don't talk about,
Reproductive
reproductive
Right,
rights
right.
or equality.
Right.
Which is crazy.
But she's saying, right, like, you lift up 50% of society to equal status.
Right.
You remove all of the barriers that are in their pathway to prosperity. You lift everyone up.
Right.
Because you have children that are going to walk with confidence. You're going to have a society that now has people who are fully contributing regardless of their gender and identity. And that gives us the kind of America we all know we deserve.
Yeah, definitely.
Part about that idea about women having particular roles in politics and how they're understood is really interesting because when Kamala Harris challenges Joe Biden in the debate last week, there were some people who said, hey, you're messing it up for the party.
Right.
You're making it easier for Trump. You shouldn't be doing this. What did you make of that exchange between Senator Harris and Vice President Biden?
Oh, I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah.
As you know, I find comfort in discomfort. And I think that there was a moment, because we have people who take, the politically expedient votes.
Right.
To implement a policy that they think, that there isn't going to be such a drastic impact, right? You're making too much of it.
Right.
And for her to stand there and say, I was that girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can tell
Put
by
a
the reaction.
face
Yeah.
on,
He's
right,
like
on
shocked.
how you get politicians who don't fully pay attention
Right.
to the kind of drastic impacts some of the policies they implement will have on people generations to come.
Yeah.
And that, I think, sort of centered that for a lot of people. I mean, even now when we think about the policies that are happening at the border, some people will say those were Obama policies. And I say, yes and no. He might have thought that there was an easier path to dealing with the crisis by sort of implementing for a short period of time policies that he couldn't have the foresight that the next person who was going to come in was going to take it to a monstrous level.
Right.
Right.
And that is sometimes what we get when we open the door right? You
Yeah.
allow.
People to come
Yeah,
in.
you open the door to darkness, a monster will come out.
Yeah.
And that's how some of these policies have really deadly impacts on our lives, and some of these policymakers don't get to worry about that or care about that, and that's what you get with people like Senator Harris and Secretary Castro, right? There are people who are like, listen, there was this one policy, you voted for it,
Yeah.
you championed it, this is now what it means. Can we have an accountability for how this was impactful for our communities? And we've never really gotten that on a national stage, at a presidential debate level.
You're on a national stage. You represent a district. There are hundreds of you, 435 of you, and yet
Yeah.
somehow you have more attention as a congresswoman than maybe anyone else
That's a fact.
in the country. Obviously, there are reasons.
I'm kind of a unicorn in Congress,
Yeah.
so makes sense.
How surprised are you, if at all, at how the public has responded to you as a African Muslim woman in Congress?
I'm not really surprised. We have always had a really horrible history of vilifying our firsts. We can look at what followed the historic moment of electing President Obama. We can look at what followed the first African Americans to get elected to Congress after the Civil War, and so you have moments in history where we are both celebrating and mourning.
Right.
And when
So who's mourning your election?
Oh, there are a lot of people who are mourning my election. There are a lot of people who would gladly sign on to policies to ban people of my faith, of my culture, from ever having an opportunity to sit at any kind of a table. We literally have a Muslim ban. And the country I come from is on that Muslim ban. And so there are people who don't believe, Muslims should be in Congress. There are people who don't believe people of color should have equal access to power.
Right.
And people who are completely uncomfortable with members of communities that sit on the margins of society walking through a door and acting as if they are equal to their superiors. And I was raised to not believe that anyone was superior to me. And so I walk and talk as if...
You walk it like you talk it.
I walk it like I talk it.
Like the song you picked earlier.
And I think that sort of is really terrifying to people, that I'm not asking for permission or an invitation to say something or do anything.
But before we go, that invitation that you're not asking for some people leads to one-term, kind of careers.
Right.
And because you're a national figure, are you afraid that people are going to target you and make your local race a national race to push you out?
Yeah. I mean, I ran for office twice. I was a target of many horrendous things, and I prevailed both of those times because I believe you get what you organize for.
That's right.
And so, for anyone who believes that they can threaten to silence me, they've got another thing coming. We're going to organize, and we feel very confident that the people in the 5th know who we're fighting for and what we're fighting for.
Oh, that's
Your
it.
bravery is inspiring.
We want to
It's so
close this
inspiring.
wonderful conversation out with some of your social comments. from this week. Alonzo tweeted, pleasantly surprised with BET for introducing us to Black Coffee. Please keep this show going. Hashtag the future. We agree with you.
We agree.
Dulce Diablo 3 tweeted, wish this show was longer. Loved how well you meshed with everybody, including Lucci. Great job, Lucci. Well, thank you. Lucci will be back at some point. But right here we have Representative Omar. Thank you for joining us. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you.
And Black Coffee fan, remember that you can subscribe to us with the YouTube page. We have our own YouTube channel now, so you can see our full episodes there. They range from interviews with Angela Yee and Laverne Cox to activist Sean King to Congressman Cory Booker, Senator Cory Booker. All of it is in there, so it's on the YouTube channel. Make sure you check it out. That's youtube.com/BET Black Coffee. Also, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We're off the rest of the week for the July 4th holiday, but we will be back Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern, so make sure you watch us then. Right now, though, we're headed over to Twitter with Representative Omar for our after show. It's called Black Coffee, The Refill. Stay right with us.
Oh, brother.